The day is finally here. The Dragon Quest VII Remake is finally out now, and it's time to look at what this game truly is like. The sudden announcement had absolutely shocked everybody, since we already had a remake of this game on the 3DS, except this time it's not your typical remake, it is a reimagining, hence the title, meaning it's essentially remade from the ground up and reimagined like we've never seen before. It's very different to the previous versions and mostly for good. A lot of great improvements and beautiful additions, but there are some tough points to mention as well. I have never played the original or 3DS remake of Dragon Quest VII, although I do own the PS1 Japanese copy. Haven't played it, but I own it. And this is my first entry into its world and story, so I don't have any nostalgic ties for previous versions, but I can say for sure you should be excited to play this epic adventure. First things first, we can't skip over its art direction or creative choices. We haven't had a new Dragon Quest game since 2017 with Dragon Quest XI, and probably won't for a while with Dragon Quest XII in its very silent development. But since then, we've received the HD 2D remakes, a couple of spin-offs, and too many mobile games to count. But most notably though, the HD 2D games are a brilliant remake of the original trilogy that kick-started this iconic staple of JRPG history. Except this is the first time in the last 3 remakes they've gone for a much different approach. They are opting for a brand new diorama style look, completely original from anything we've ever seen before. They are handcrafted, real-life dolls that are scanned into the models of the game to give them an authentic, distinct look and feel. Even the armor and gear was scanned from handcrafted models, almost as if this game is fueled by the imagination of a young child's mind playing with dolls. Do you remember the average lore of your toys when you was a child? Well, think of that when you look at this game. Your toys are brought to life. All of this mixed with the beautiful Akira Toriyama art style, rest in peace by the way. Dragon Quest VII was always very unique, even within the Dragon Quest series, which speaks volumes, and the reimagining really shines in creating a warm, peaceful and calming environment that's shown through its characters' original soundtrack and world. Something else to mention, the entire game's soundtrack was created by the Tokyo Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra. That means the entire OST is beautifully orchestrated by a real-life orchestra. In the past Dragon Quest games that have an orchestral soundtrack, they have beautifully brought this world and story to life with its OST, and it is not something to skip over here. The soundtrack is nothing short of brilliant. Back on the Sony PlayStation when this game first released, it featured these ugly animations that tried to reinvent its 2D art style, but instead ruined the immersiveness. Now it feels like they've adopted what they tried to do over 20 years ago and revamp it into the entire game with this exceedingly smooth animation that feels like an animated film, and I hope we get more of these. The entire game features that top-down classic aesthetic from the old JRPGs that it feels inspired and evolved from the original. This was chosen specifically to support the diorama-based art style and help with the pacing when you explore the overworld, giving you a wider view for its gameplay. Much of its gameplay was very similar of Dragon Quest XI, so giving it this top-down view helps it stay unique. Across the ambient overworld of Estard, you'll immediately see visible enemies in the wild, meaning there are no random encounters, and there's something new before a battle commences. You can deal extra damage or eliminate weaker opponents immediately. The battles are pretty streamlined to promote faster speeds to help incentivize committing to those long grindy quests, with more refined auto battle tactics and quicker battles. JRPG fans typically don't mind turn-based battles, that's what you expect, but those gamers new to Dragon Quest or JRPGs can appreciate the faster mechanics here, as it fixes the original's notoriously slow pacing, helps cure the excessive grinding, and it opens up the game to a much wider audience, all without losing the charm along the way. The entire game can be played on various difficulty settings, which is also a new addition in the recent remakes. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined takes a lot of great components from every Dragon Quest game that comes before. For example, the overall world direction is greatly inspired by Dragon Quest VIII and XI, and during battles the gear is shown to your personal customization. Something brand new to this title is displaying type weaknesses in this battle, never before seen a single time in the series. So in battle it tells you which spells are super effective or non-effective, helping give you a guide through the fight. There are so many options for beginners which allow them to take the game at your own pace, making it easier and more approachable, like streamlining the game with a pinpoint marker for quests. But if you're a more committed traditional fan to JRPGs or a fan of the original Dragon Quest games, you can simply ignore this. You can turn it off and play more independently, allowing your mind to take control. My only complaint with this is that if you do turn your brain off during a cutscene or text box scene, that's it, you're gone, you're lost. But solving these problems on your own is a much more rewarding and complete experience that a lot of old Dragon Quest fans can agree with. So I do have strong conflicted feelings about this support line in the recent entries, but either way, the choice is yours. I don't think the game is too easy either. It still can be quite challenging even with all of the support lines. Now the gameplay takes a different turn as well. There is a new moonlighting feature that is an upgrade from the original. There used to be a vocation system that let you choose and train for a job, but it was excessively grinding and you could only do one at a time. Now you can choose any 2 jobs to train at the same time, which has really streamlined the grinding and the experience without cutting away anything that's core to the game. You can change vocations at any time, and there are a lot of starter vocations for those early levels, so right away you feel like you are thrown into the game. The vocations are very easy to track and progress. It feels very intuitive and smooth. Each vocation has its own unique abilities that might prioritize all-out attacks or hanging back or playing a support role, or some are very mixed, and you can mix any of these together so you can create your own personal playthrough, each time feeling different to someone else's. Now what this did replace was the monster class system in the originals, that allowed you to learn the abilities from other monsters. When I learned about this, I wasn't too bummed out until I saw these amazing unique classes. Some of these designs are incredible, they look amazing, and I feel like it's a cut that wasn't necessary. Maybe I'm being too harsh because I just love the way these outfits look. Like I said, I haven't played this before, so I don't actually know what this feels like, but I'm just a little bit sore that we can't play as this, or this, or this. But being able to work on 2 vocations simultaneously instead does offer a more focused gameplay experience with multiple combinations, and it's just fun to see how syncing these moves work. Most Dragon Quest games include an extra layer of tactical thinking. Here in Fragments of the Forgotten Past, you have the worked up mechanic, which is an ability that can completely turn the tides of combat. There is a brand new battle arena where you can fight large waves of bosses, and you can fight the main villains from past Dragon Quest games, like the Dragon Lord, Malroth and Zoma, and many more, all coming with special rewards which are items from games all across the series. Sure, they're throwing in a lot of fan service here that may not be relevant to the core game, and I don't know how I feel about that. Because on one hand, I feel like when a company tries to throw in so much fan service to other titles, it loses what the game is supposed to be about. Leave the fan service to Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. Those games are great in their own respective zone, but I don't quite know how I feel fighting Malroth in Dragon Quest VII, just randomly. I'd rather have unique bosses specifically catered to this story. And if I want to go fight Malroth, I will just go play Dragon Quest 2. Or Dragon Quest Builders 2. I'm obsessed with that game. But on the other hand, they're cool as fuck. You decide whether you actually want to or not, after all it is an option. I'm not going to spoil any main plots, subplots, twists, just nothing about the story except the concept. This is an episodic time travel experience that lets you travel between worlds across time. In these other worlds, you find clues to piece together an overarching story. Even to today's standards, this is an ambition not to be overlooked, and they did this back in the 90s. Now we get to experience this time travel drama in modern standards. Each world feels unique, like it's an episode of a much larger story. At the beginning, you may seem like the story is slow, taking its time to establish itself, but stick through, because by the time the story is finished, you'll feel like you've lived out a lifetime of memories and experiences, leaving you feeling empty and shallow inside. A feeling that not many games can replicate. When this game was announced, the developers made it very clear that they were reworking the story to allow modern audiences to enjoy it and be more approachable, but still keeping its unique Dragon Quest charm. They knew the original title was the most divisive entry in the entire series, so they made some controversial changes in order to do this. Simply put, the game is much better paced and more accessible to play. They have reworked countless, and I mean countless, things. They've cut down some irrelevant, lesser important subplots. Longtime fans may see this as a huge negative. For world building and an infinite sense of discovery, this is a negative. But for a streamlined experience focusing on the main plot, it's a positive. The original game is well over 100 hours long just to finish the main story. It is a hefty commitment that can't be taken lightly. So you decide if you're more in favour of a streamlined experience or have the open, longer formatted story, because the older versions are still available on PS1 or 3DS. However, some of the plot points that have been abandoned have been replaced with newer storylines that expand the main story to strengthen the overarching narrative and streamline attention onto the relevant plot instead of the plethora of subplots. The original had this global sense of adventure with so much to do, and although a lot of it has been cut here, there is still so much to do. There are, however, non-linear segments of the game that can be completed in any order you choose, which keeps that sense of exploration and childlike sense of wonder, making you struggle to guess what's next and how the story might flow, what could happen, because anything can happen in any order. Something to note, I was truly saddened that I couldn't afford to buy the collector's edition of this game. It's a diorama ship, and it's beautiful. It comes with so many more little bonuses. It's a lot better than the collector's editions for the HD 2D games, but it's so expensive. Dragon Quest games may be beloved in Japan, but internationally, they're widely known for their incredible, authentic, deeply detailed localization. I've made a separate video diving into the intricacies on how deep-rooted the translators go, with real-life dialects, mannerisms, puns, expressions, voices, names, and locations, all based on real-life influences, tailored to fit the archetypes that they represent in the game on such a deep level. And Dragon Quest VII is not any exception. But this time around, it can get crazy since there are over 10 languages to choose from that presents an authentic, nuanced experience for such a wide range of people around the world. Myself, like most people, are going to go for the universal English, and it is an absolutely incredible sense of storytelling. The characters have rich personality to them. In a series with so many entries, you'd expect things to feel copy and pasted, you'd expect them to get bland. But I have to tell you, this is not true. Not a single Dragon Quest game, and I'm saying this in pure seriousness, not a single Dragon Quest game feels bland. All of them are unique. And this one, they really went out in promoting it. Back when the announcement of Reimagined dropped, the Dragon Quest social media went all out, showing the depth and care their efforts in reimagining the game, and gave us cute snippets of each character. And in the last week, they've even sent out emails written as if the characters are the ones writing to you, the fans themselves. They absolutely nailed the personalities, and I couldn't ask for any better. When these characters are flowing through the world, they're bringing the story to life, and they make you feel as though it is you on this quest. There's a lot going on here, and it really does feel like a grand reimagining, not a simple remake. This is an experience worthy of Dragon Quest VII's legacy. Hexadrive and Square Enix have really hit their stride in bringing all mainline titles to modern storefronts with incredible remakes that should inspire other developers to bring back their old hits to modern time with a breed of new life. Yuji Horii, like every single other Dragon Quest game in history, has overlooked this title. He created the original, he overlooked the 3DS remake, and here he is bringing the reimagining to us once again. this man's mind is incredible. This is very random, but back in October I was lucky enough to be invited to the Square Enix European headquarters in London for a private screening of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake that I was allowed to play early, and they gave me some cool merch, this epic poster of Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, 2 actually, and there was even a video from Japan of Yuji Horii thanking us for coming over to play. That was a little bit irrelevant, I just wanted to drop it in. So, if you've enjoyed this first look into Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, please consider liking and subscribing and checking out another one of my videos. I'm determined to grow this channel into purely Dragon Quest Central, and hopefully start a community to interact with so many fans like myself. So if you've enjoyed, let me know below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.